Kenya is ranked 49 out of 100 pertaining to its government budget transparency. This according to the Open Budget Survey 2012. The East African country's government is said to provide minimal information with relation to the country's financial activities, whereby compromising citizens' abilities to actually hold the government accountable for the management of public funds. Jason Lakin, who's research fellow at International Budget Partnership, joins us now from our studios in Nairobi, Kenya, for more detail on this. Jason, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. So there we have it. We've got Kenya ranking number 49 out of 100. Just how does Kenya fare relative to some of the other countries that have been surveyed here?
Thanks, Alishia. So the survey ranks countries from 0 to 100, and so Kenya's not ranked the 49th in the world, but it has a 49 out of 100 on the index, and that compares moderately well with countries in the East Africa region. It's the second highest in East Africa after Uganda, but generally above the global average, which is around 43. But still poorly with some other countries, such as South Africa, which scores 90.
How exactly do you measure something like this? Because certainly for South Africans, that encouraging where you hear South Africa ranks number 90. But what factors are you actually taking into consideration here?
Sure. So the index is based on, it's a very simple fact-based, document-based index. So what we do is we look at 8 key budget documents which have been agreed by international institutions to be the core budget documents that should be released throughout the budget cycle, from budget formulation through approval of the budget, implementation, and then audit and oversight. So there are 8 key budget documents. We check to see whether these 8 key budget documents are available to the public, and then we check to make sure that they contain comprehensive information. So all of our researchers, and we work with a local researcher in each country, checks to see that the information which is available is consistent with international standards.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing having documentation like this available, Jason. Another thing actually being able to do something with it. I mean, is there enough opportunity out there for citizens and civil society to actually engage in budget processes?
Yeah, that's a really important question, Alishia. And I think that this year in our survey, we actually tried to look at that issue. So the Open Budget Survey actually asked 125 questions. And of those, we used 95 questions to create the index, which I mentioned. That's the one that South Africa scores a 90 and Kenya scores a 49. That index is just based on the transparency of the documents. But the other 30 questions that we ask, those questions look at the opportunities for public participation in the budget process and opportunities for oversight by legislatures and audit institutions. And unfortunately, what the data on public participation shows is that it's pretty abysmal. There are very few opportunities for the public to participate in most countries. The overall score for the globe on public participation was 19 out of 100. Kenya does moderately well on public participation as a result of opportunities created by the new Constitution and Public Financial Management Act, but there is still a lot of room to create new opportunities for citizens to engage in a meaningful way with the budget.
So what do we need to start seeing Kenya do in order to edge closer to that 100-point mark?
Sure. Well, there's a few easy steps that Kenya could take. Of the 8 budget documents that we measure, Kenya only publishes 6. The mid-year review of the budget and the year-end report on budget execution are produced for internal use by the Kenyan government, but not published so that the public can see them. So for a country like Kenya that already produces and uses this information, it's quite an easy step to actually release that information to the public, and that would result in a higher score for Kenya on the index. In addition, some of the documents require more comprehensive information. The budget proposal, for example, could include more information on extra budgetary funds, and particularly in the context of devolution, intergovernmental transfers, which are quite an important area. And then the enacted budget could show more program level information on how much programs are actually receiving. With these simple steps, Kenya would experience a much higher score on the Open Budget Index next time.
Taking a look at just how consultative a government can be on that end, Jason, I mean, are we looking at the prospect of consultation happening with the broader citizenry of Kenya at this stage of the game? Once that information does come to the fore, just how open is government to conversation?
Well, I think that's a good question. The new constitution in Kenya, the 2010 constitution, requires public participation in financial matters. And the Public Financial Management Act of 2012 also makes provision for the public to be engaged in the budget process. There are opportunities currently for the public to give input at the formulation stage of the budget, but these opportunities are somewhat weak. There's not enough advance notice, people don't have enough information, and they're not given any feedback on the inputs that they make. When we look at the budget execution stage, which is an area where citizens actually have a lot to offer, because citizens on the ground can actually see whether budgets are being implemented, whether projects are being implemented. And citizens in civil society in Kenya have played a big role in this area over the last couple of years, particularly around things like Constituency Development Fund, monitoring and evaluation. There are not actually any formal opportunities for citizens currently to engage in the monitoring and oversight of the budget. So that's an area where the Kenyan government could take further steps, working with the Auditor General and the legislature, which is newly empowered in the budget process, to really use the information from citizens to monitor whether the budget's being implemented.